In the same way that a field can be private, methods can be private. These fields, as a side note, can be public because they're final and they're static, and so it's generally okay. This one might, I don't know, probably public. There's, these things have different purposes. They're just tools. There's not always one just good way to use them. But like I said, if you don't specify, they're public. So methods also can be private. Now, I'm going to try and illustrate this concept in a particular way. So let's add a new method. And when I look over this code violates one of the principles of programming, which is do not repeat yourself, dry. Because we're constantly saying the system.out.println thing, system.out.println, say class name, system.out.println, blah, 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 blah. There's all these, you don't have to write this code so many times. And in fact, this is obviously like code that you would not write in a real circumstance. It's just meant to demonstrate concepts. But here we're going to demonstrate the concept of public versus private. So this is going to be a method that I'm just going to call say. And I'm going to ask that whoever is using it pass in a word, a string that we're going to call word. And then this method is just going to system.out.println word. Great. So anything, because it's public by default, so right now I'm just going to type this in because you need to get used to seeing those words, public by default. So we can have this object say anything. So we can say o.say donkey. So if I run this program now, and I'll just just to make things clear what I'm illustrating, just have those two lines of code, o.say donkey. And it's going to just print out donkey. Great. Okay, so what happens, how could we make use of this method to do these other methods so that we don't constantly have to write duplicative code? Well, pause it and try and figure it out, and then here's how you do it. So now we can, this object has access to everything inside of itself, so we can just say, and then hi, instead of all that other code now. And so this will still work. Now we can say hi over here, o.say hi, and if I'll delete that code, so you can see this, O is now going to say the word hi. Doesn't seem like it's doing anything efficient yet, so it's hard to see the purpose. But look at this. This is a pretty short thing to write. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, like anytime I want to say something, I'll just type all this stuff out. Because it's kind of a nuisance to type system.out.println and then the thing. So how about down here? Well, instead of all of this, system.out.println, we can just say, and then we pass over a name. And so this method then sends the say anything method, the say method, the whatever's in container name, and passes it over to the container word, and then it prints it out over here. So we can go back and say name, o.say name. And we run this, and it'll say hi, and then its name, Ragnus, so that's a little confusing, but whatever. And so you can already see that this is simplifying how our code looks. This is kind of a jumbly line of code to read, but this is oh, say hi, I get that. All right, how about we change this other one to say, excuse me, say my object. All right, but how does this relate to public versus private? Well, say we didn't actually want an outside class to be able to just say anything. It's not for there's other methods that they can deal with for this. So say we didn't want this to be private. It's just for use inside this object. It's like a helper method that this object uses to make its code readable. So let's make this a private method that this class has access to, but other classes don't. Well, before we do that, let's just go back here. We'll change it to public. And then I'm going to go back here and have it say o.say Kong. And so if it says Kong, you will probably guess that over here will pop up the word Kong. Great. Well, what happens if we change that to private. So let's change this method access to private and say, no, this is a method that only this object has direct access to. It's going to get angry. The compiler is going to say, what is it going to say? Change visibility of, say, to package, or like to public or package, something like that. It just says expand the visibility of it, and that means change it from private to something more visible if you want to access it directly. But we can still, the object itself can still use it. So let's have it say hi again now. And o.sayHi. And because the object has direct access to that method, this method can make a call directly to it, can utilize it, and still do its job. So occasionally you'll have methods, and oftentimes when you have more complicated classes where you need to divvy up tasks, if you're being pretty nitpicky, you can say like, nah, nobody else needs to use this method. This is just for me. It's a helper method inside my object to simplify other coding tasks for kind of internal purposes. And that's kind of when you would have a private method.